Have you guessed who is the most misunderstood person on Love Island? I'll let this person introduce themselves to you.
My name is Amaya. I'm 25 years old and I live in New York City.
I have so much to share with you about Amaya, and what I'm going to share with you may actually bring surprising clarity about someone in your own life. It might be you, or it might be someone you love, but I can guarantee you this. Well, I guess I can't guarantee, but close to guarantee, that once you watch this video and you see what's really going on beneath the surface for Amaya, you won't look at her the same way again. In fact, it's a big part of why I believe Amaya is the most misunderstood person on Love Island. So Amaya, like all of us, is complex. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the layers I see in her. I'll take you through her journey on Love Island, leading up to that awful mailbox moment, because I have a lot to say about that. But before I share what I've come to understand about Amaya, and I promise you, you won't have to wait long to find out what that is, let's just take a closer look at how it all began. From the moment she entered Love Island, Amaya had a rocky and unfair start. And understanding those early moments will help you see on a deeper level what I'm about to reveal about her. Hi, I'm Dr. Pam, therapist and relationship counselor, and I care so deeply about helping you grow and build more meaningful, connected relationships. And if you want more of that, I'd love for you to subscribe so we can stay connected and keep growing together. And if you're here regularly, it means so much to me. I'm so happy that we are on this journey together. Oh, and I know many of you have asked me to cover Olandria, and I promise I will. I'll get to her soon, along with several of the other islanders you've mentioned. But for now, let's just dive in. Let's start at the very beginning with Amaya's journey. So Amaya's challenging experience started the moment she arrived on Love Island. Remember this?
Do you not see what me and Jeremiah have? I just think that was the dumbest shit she could have done.
From the very beginning, Amaya was met with hostility and unfair judgment from Huda. She was immediately disliked and misunderstood. And in the very same game, we all saw that Ace was using Amaya to stir things up with Shelly. And then after the game, this is what was said about her. And remember that this was her very first experience on Love Island. Well, that we know of. I have no idea what is edited out.
That bitch is messy. I couldn't even look at her.
I think it's likely that Amaya felt Huda's hostility, and I imagine walking into an environment where bonds have already been established is not an easy thing to do. And her first interest in someone was Ace. They have their first chat, and Ace asks her what she is passionate about. Let's watch what she says.
This is going to sound so corny. I'm a little poetic, okay? So don't mind me.
I like it.
But just being the light in someone's darkness, and I guess maybe that's just the nurse in me.
We learned something very important about Amaya in this moment. When she was asked what she's passionate about, the very first thing that came to her mind wasn't a hobby or a talent or even a personal interest. It was being the light in someone's darkness. That's powerful. Amaya is a nurse, a natural caretaker, and I have no doubt that she takes that role seriously and brings light to the patients that she cares for.
I am shy.
Yeah, I like your laugh.
Oh.
I love it.
Yeah, I laugh a lot. I
that.
laugh when I think things are funny. I laugh when I'm nervous.
Yeah. You nervous?
A little.
A couple of important things stand out here. First, Amaya is very genuine, and I'll explain more about how I know that as we go on, because that is such an important part of her. That doesn't mean she doesn't bring challenges to a relationship, but her sincerity is a key part of understanding her. She also shares two other meaningful things about herself here in this clip. She's shy, which must be incredibly difficult in a setting like this, so she's likely pushing herself far out of her comfort zone. And she laughs when she's nervous, something that often is misunderstood and can be taken the wrong way, especially in high-pressure environments like Love Island.
She makes me laugh. She's gorgeous. I'm really just excited to explore this connection. She's very ambitious, very outgoing, very assertive of what she wants, and that's really been big for me. I'm really excited to share a bed with this person and have conversations late night about stupid shit.
Ace presents his reasons for choosing Amaya in a very romantic way. And for someone like Amaya who deeply values authenticity, it's easy to see how she would be drawn in by his words because she believes that he's being authentic. But very soon after, he says this to her.
I'm an extremely slow burner when it comes to like affection. I'm not super touchy or like super like, kissing outside of the challenges, even cuddling. I mean, especially it's my first night getting to know you.
So this is why she was so caught off guard when he said this to her, because for her, he went from one extreme to another. And this is her first emotional reaction on Love Island. Let's watch.
I feel like this conversation could have waited until tomorrow because I feel like when you picked me, I was like, okay, so the feelings are mutual. I just felt like I was on cloud nine and I kind of just burst my bubble of happiness a little bit.
I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. It wasn't my intent.
So here we go. This is what I really want to share with you about Amaya, and it's something that will likely apply to someone in your life as well. I believe Amaya was born with a sensitive temperament. Now, yes, she has been told that she is sensitive, but being born with a sensitive temperament is something very different. Let me briefly explain what that means. And throughout this video, I'll show you how it shows up in Amaya, along with other important aspects of who she is. This isn't the only thing to understand about Amaya, but it's a big one. And I can tell you, when I have helped people in therapy recognize a sensitive temperament either in themselves or in someone that they love, it often changes everything. 15 to 20% of the population are born with a sensitive temperament. And it is not gender specific. Both men and women can have a sensitive temperament. A sensitive temperament doesn't simply mean that you're always kind, sweet, or gentle, though it can include those traits. The best way to understand it is this. People born with a sensitive temperament experience big, intense emotions. These emotions can be hard to contain, understand, and manage. And because of this, they may sometimes react in ways that seem overly emotional or out of proportion, not because they're dramatic, but because their nervous system is genuinely overwhelmed with emotion. This kind of sensitivity can also show up physically as well, with a heightened sense of smell, sensitivity to sound, or discomfort with certain fabrics or textures on your body. And some people experience all of these while others only experience a few. And here's something really important. Not everyone with a sensitive temperament expresses it outwardly. If this person grew up in an abusive or dismissive or emotionally unsafe environment, they may have learned to shut down their big feelings, but that doesn't mean that the sensitivity isn't there. And it's also crucial to know this isn't a choice. You are born with a sensitive temperament, just like you're born an introvert or an extrovert. Feeling intense, overwhelming emotions isn't a choice, like I said, but learning how to understand them and manage them is absolutely necessary. And this is why I believe we see Amaya cry so easily. She's not being weak or overly emotional. She is simply being flooded by strong feelings, often all at once. Her tears are not manipulation or instability. They are a window into a nervous system that feels deeply and fast. I'm going to include a link in the description to a sensitive temperament quiz if you'd like to explore this more. And as we move through this video, I'll show you how this part of Amaya shows up again and again and again, and how understanding it gives us more of a compassionate lens, not only for her, but for others in our lives who might be wired the same way. Another thing to understand about people who have a sensitive temperament is that authenticity is very important to them.
Like, I'm still exploring other connections, and obviously, I understand that. That's why we're here, but that's not the first thing I want to hear after you pick me.
Girl,
you get what I'm saying?
I understand. Come here.
So it's like, okay, so did you pick me to are you playing it safe? Are you being genuine? Are you being real?
There it is. Are you being genuine? Are you being real? Notice that Amaya questioned if Ace is being genuine with her, and I will say more about why that is so important to someone with a sensitive temperament. And let me add one more important layer to understanding sensitive temperament, and this is where it can get a little complicated. There is a big difference between someone who is emotionally fragile and someone who has a sensitive temperament. You can be both, and that's when it gets really complicated, but they are not the same thing. A person with a sensitive temperament can actually be quite emotionally strong and well regulated. Sensitive doesn't mean weak. It simply means they feel things deeply and may process the world more intensely. With awareness and emotional tools, they can thrive. Emotional fragility, on the other hand, often comes from unresolved trauma. This distinction matters because emotional immaturity is usually shaped by trauma, past trauma, and developmental gaps, but sensitive temperament, on the other hand, is something you are born with. And I know I said that already, but it's just so important to understand that it's not a choice, it's your wiring. Now, Amaya has said that she's had a hard life, and I don't doubt that she's experienced trauma. But trauma impacts people very differently, and in her case, I see someone who may be navigating both her deep emotional wiring and her past pain and trying to do so in a very vulnerable and public setting.
How you feeling?
I'm so sorry for being so over emotional like that. Like, I know you didn't have no bad intentions and you were just being honest.
Amaya refers to herself as being over emotional, and that is an important clue that she likely has a sensitive temperament. When someone feels the need to apologize for their emotions, it often means they don't understand that their emotional responses are part of how they're wired. Amaya likely doesn't realize that she has a sensitive temperament, and at some point in her life, she was probably reprimanded or dismissed or even shamed for feeling deeply and reacting strong. Not because anyone meant to harm her, but simply because those around her didn't understand her sensitivity, and now neither does she. After she apologized, Ace asks her what she calls her partner in a relationship. We all remember the babe moment.
Or, babe.
Oh. Even babe is like a lot for me too. And I know she like to say that a lot.
Oh my God,
It
so
is.
you want me to stop calling you babe? Damn.
Yeah, like
Yeah?
that's, yeah.
I'm about to walk away for real, because you about to piss me off.
Sorry, that makes me laugh. Notice how Amaya gets angry, and I'm not laughing because she's angry, just to be clear. I'm not saying her anger isn't valid. It is valid. And as I mentioned in a previous video, Ace isn't being collaborative or working toward a middle ground with her. He tends to dictate rather than engage in mutual understanding. What I want to show you here is that Amaya's sensitive temperament plays a role. When someone has a sensitive temperament, emotions tend to rise quickly and intensely. Like you saw, she got angry quick. That doesn't make the emotion wrong. It just means the emotional response surfaces fast and can feel overwhelming in the moment.
Okay, that's fine. We'll talk, babe. Oh, sir. It's natural. It's natural.
Sorry, she makes me laugh sometimes. She laughed because of the intensity of Ace's emotions, and her own emotions were overwhelming. And notice how genuine she is, though. The other thing to notice is that she doesn't feel seen when she says it's natural and it's part of her lingo. She's trying to help Ace understand that calling someone babe doesn't carry the same emotional weight for her as it does for him. He sees it as moving too fast, while for her, it's just part of her everyday language. And for Amaya, I feel fairly confident that she's felt misunderstood around her emotions for much of her life. So when she feels not understood and unfairly accused and unseen, it likely triggers her. She's not just experiencing the emotions of the present moment, but it's also stirring up past experiences and feelings for her. And the hard truth and the sad truth is that when we are triggered, it becomes our work to understand and manage our triggers. But in this moment, Amaya is simply overwhelmed emotionally, and instead of being met with understanding, she is misunderstood. over and over again.
I asked you what you call your partner.
Yeah.
You said babe. So I'm confused.
Babe, oh my God. You see, I really do not mean it intentionally. I don't, Ace. I don't. It's just part of my lingo. You're not getting what I'm saying.
I really don't. So make me understand.
No, because I'm about to get emotional right now. You're like pissing me off again.
This is where it becomes important to gain an understanding of cultural differences in a relationship. This is where it becomes important to not draw conclusions about someone and instead lean into curiosity. He could share what being called babe means to him, and rather than concluding what it means, he could ask her, tell me more about using the term babe with people and what that means to you. In this next clip, Amaya and Ace try to have a conversation again.
I told you already that I've had a connection with Shelly. Then on top of that,
Hold on.
No.
You kept on making it a broad statement.
You're not gonna cut me off.
You kept on making it a broad statement.
You're not gonna cut me off.
You kept on saying.
Everything that you're saying right now.
You kept on saying.
Everything that you're saying right now.
You kept on saying. I'm open to making connections.
Everything that you're saying right now.
That's a broad statement, and especially after picking me at the ceremony. Of course, my feelings would have probably got a bit more stronger after you. So that's where I was confused, and that's where I feel blindsided. So don't try to undermine how I feel.
Keep in mind that as I comment about this video is not about Ace and how he communicates. My sole purpose for this video is Amaya. This is where having a sensitive temperament can be a real challenge in communication. When your emotions rise quickly and feel intense, it becomes difficult to stay calm and grounded in the conversation. And when you can't manage that emotional intensity, it's easy to lose your voice. Well, not literally, of course, but in the sense that you struggle to clearly express your truth, your intentions, and advocate for yourself. Instead, the emotions take over. You might shut down, cry, or react strongly, and then others label you as overly emotional. And once that happens, the message you're trying to get across often goes unheard because people are reacting to your emotions instead of listening to what you're saying. This is why self-awareness around having a sensitive temperament is so important. When you understand how your emotions work, you can begin to manage them more effectively, and that makes it easier to stay present, communicate clearly, and feel seen instead of dismissed. Without that awareness, it's easy to get overwhelmed and misunderstood, even when your intentions are good. This is a good example of how highly sensitive people can struggle to communicate during conflict. In calm situations, they are often excellent listeners and supportive friends or partners. But when they feel misunderstood, their emotions can become intense very fast. And as I mentioned earlier, when that happens, they often end up looking over emotional and reactive, even when their feelings are completely valid. Next, Amaya is upset with Shelly. Let's watch.
So, Shadi, I definitely do want to talk to you. So, what's going on between you and Ace? Because yesterday, you were one of the girls that I did cry and vent to about him.
No, of course.
And I feel like you had many opportunities to tell me, hey, girl, I still feel a connection with him, and I still want to pursue that. And now the way I view it is wait, was she being genuine with me when I was telling her how rocky we are?
As I said, you will notice in many of Amaya's conversations that she uses the word genuine and questions if someone is being genuine with her. So, for people with a sensitive temperament, authenticity isn't just a preference, it's a need. Authenticity is a core need for highly sensitive people because of how deeply they feel and process the world around them. They are highly attuned to emotional cues, and they can quickly sense when something feels off or insincere. When others are not being real, as she often uses the word real as well, genuine, it creates inner tension and emotional confusion for a highly sensitive person. But when there's honesty and emotional alignment, they feel safe and grounded and able to fully show up. Authenticity helps a highly sensitive person trust what's being said and felt, and that reduces feeling overwhelmed and creates the deep, meaningful connection they naturally crave. And just to be clear, this doesn't make highly sensitive people better than others, and it doesn't mean others don't value authenticity, and it doesn't mean that others are not sensitive to other people. People often confuse that when I use the term highly sensitive person. It just means they're wired differently. Their nervous systems are more reactive and attuned, which makes authenticity especially important for their emotional well-being. So next, Amaya has an interesting encounter with Charlie. He has been exploring Hannah, but Hannah is also exploring Pepe. So Charlie asks Amaya if she is open to exploring with him, and this is how she reacts.
Me and Hannah are extremely, extremely close, and doing that to her would be like the biggest betrayal ever, and I just don't have that in me to do that.
I have every right to explore, even if she's your friend or whatever. Like, but I always had a soft spot for you, and I knew it was a bad time, and I knew it was a risky move because I just don't cry.
Here's another emotional reaction from Amaya. When Charlie asks if she's open to exploring a connection with him, she becomes visibly overwhelmed. Amaya is close with Hannah, and because she values being genuine and loyal, even the idea of hurting a friend feels like a betrayal. She can feel that. For her, the emotional weight of that is too much, not because she's dramatic, but because she's staying true to her values that matter deeply to her. And let me say this clearly, having a sensitive temperament isn't easy, but it can also be challenging and confusing for the person on the receiving end. Take this moment with Charlie. He was likely completely caught off guard with Amaya's strong emotional reaction when she started crying. And remember, these big feelings are not a choice. I feel like it's so important to really drive that point home. It's part of how she is wired. And I know I've said that so many times, but I think it's just so important. If you have a sensitive temperament or someone around you has a sensitive temperament, your child has a sensitive temperament, you will understand them so much better. Remember the moment when the group was told that they would have to eliminate someone from the island? It was too much for Amaya. For someone with a sensitive temperament, being faced with a decision that could hurt another person can feel overwhelming. It's not just about making a choice. It's about carrying the emotional weight of how that choice might affect someone else. Amaya feels the weight of that choice deeply, and in moments like this, the pressure and emotional impact can become too intense to manage calmly. So, we know that Amaya has a relationship with Austin and then Zak, and both of them found her to move too fast in the relationship and too intensely. Let's start with what Austin has to say about that.
Bro, she was super intense during that challenge. Like we're next to each other and she's like, yeah. You know what I mean, bro? That shit was not normal. That shit's not normal. I've never really been uncomfortable with a girl before. Being like super locked in with someone after 2 days, it's a little freaky to me.
So, as you already know, people with a sensitive temperament experience emotions with tremendous intensity. However, that intensity also means they tend to crave deep, meaningful connection. And because of that, they can sometimes move too quickly in relationships. It's not because they're being careless or impulsive or clingy. It's because they feel things so deeply and want to connect on an emotional level right away. That desire for closeness can sometimes move faster than the relationship is ready for and can lead to misunderstandings, as we just saw with Austin. It's another reason why self-awareness is so important, because it helps slow things down for the person with the sensitive temperament, meaning they are the ones that have to be self-aware. And then they can learn to bring balance to their emotional and relational world.
So is there anything I do that makes you feel uncomfortable?
No, I wouldn't say uncomfortable. I love getting to know you and I love your energy and I love the energy that you bring out of me. And I think it's just, I don't know, honestly, I just think it's like I'm just not used to it yet.
Okay.
So remember I mentioned that people with a sensitive temperament are often highly emotionally attuned to others. They can sense when something feels off, and that's exactly what is happening here. Amaya picked up on a shift in Austin and openly asked him about it because she's genuine. And she values honesty and authenticity, but Austin isn't completely honest with her in that moment. It's hard to know exactly why. Maybe being direct is something he struggles with in general, or maybe he's hesitant to be fully honest with her because he fears triggering a strong emotional reaction from Amaya, which can be challenging for the person on the receiving end. For someone who isn't familiar with how to navigate that kind of emotional intensity, it can feel easier to avoid the conversation altogether. And again, it really is on Amaya to learn how to be less emotionally reactive. Not an easy thing for a sensitive temperament person to learn to do.
But Austin, I had to do a lot of reflection, and like I'm a big, loving person, and other people just view it as me being too much for them. But I'm not going to change who I am for anybody.
What I would say to Amaya is this: you don't have to change for anyone. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a meaningful part of who you are. But doing growth work is in your best interest. Not because you need to be less sensitive, but because your intense emotional reactions can feel overwhelming for you. When you begin to understand your sensitive temperament and learn how to manage it, you will feel more empowered, more grounded, and more in control of your emotions. I imagine Amaya has been told she's overly sensitive, dramatic, or too much. And even if she doesn't fully realize it, she probably values that sensitive part of herself. And she should. What she may not know yet is this: it is possible to honor your sensitivity while also growing. You can value who you are and still work on making your emotional world easier to carry for yourself and for your relationships. So she moves on to Zak. Let's watch.
It's just that I feel like sometimes, even though I'm coupled up with you, I'm still single as in here.
Like, why didn't you speak to me yesterday? You've got legs, I've got legs too. Do you want to come speak to me? Come speak to me.
Yeah, but I also don't want to be the one always having to approach you. I don't know. I just feel like I want to be strengthening our connection.
When Amaya feels something, she tends to address it right away. And that can be a strength in some situations, but in others, it can create tension or confusion. She has a hard time sitting with her emotions before reacting, and that's part of her growth work. Learning to pause, understand what she's feeling, and then communicate it in a more grounded and clear way, because that will help her feel more in control and better understood by others.
I didn't really want to get emotional or bring my walls down or open up to you a little bit. I slowly started to open up to you, but then there were certain actions or certain things you said. It's constant or it's moving too quick, because I'm like, oh, I ain't ready for this shit.
Okay.
I don't want you to be like that. Listen, you'll be fine, don't cry.
So here we see the same pattern again. For some people, it can feel overwhelming when someone cries. Not because the emotion is wrong, but because they may not know how to respond, or they might feel helpless in that moment. And I am not suggesting that a person shouldn't cry. Emotional expression is important. But in Amaya's case, it would be incredibly helpful for her to understand her emotions on a deeper level. And I imagine that in this moment, even she may not be fully clear on what's upsetting her, and that's understandable. Emotions can be layered and intense, especially for someone with a sensitive temperament, but that's why she needs to take more time to reflect and understand what she is feeling. Okay, we have to talk about the mailbox experience. Let's go.
It's a call out and maybe do it right now. You cry more than needed. You try to move too fast for everyone. And look at the bitch crying again. God forbid I'm a sensitive gangster.
Sensitive gangster?
This moment was harsh, and it is one of the reasons that I believe why Amaya is the most misunderstood person on Love Island. You can see how deeply the criticism and judgment affected her. It hit her hard. And to her credit, she tried to laugh it off. But underneath that laugh, she felt the impact. And this is a clear example of how easy it is to misread someone who feels things so deeply.
To say that Many people could view this as a weakness, but to me personally, after everything I've been through in my life, I view it as a strength. So if you guys view it like that, then guess what? I'm just not your cup of tea to be drinking, so don't drink it.
I love how she advocates for herself in this moment. What I hope she comes to understand one day is that her emotional depth and empathy are not just the result of what she's been through in her life. They are also a part of her sensitive temperament. Again, you know what I'm going to say? Something she was born with. Her life experiences absolutely have shaped how her sensitivity shows up, but that deep emotional awareness has always been with her, and recognizing that can help her embrace it with more clarity and confidence. So Austin admits that he wrote that.
No, that was a little harsh how it came off. When we coupled up, after that it was like the intensity of your emotions and feelings and wants just felt like they built way up.
People could express themselves the way that I can express myself. So I'm tired of people viewing that as a negative instead of a power move.
Amaya says she's tired of people seeing her sensitivity as a weakness instead of a strength, and that speaks volumes. As I have mentioned, she has likely been criticized for her sensitivity her entire life. She's probably been told she's too emotional, too reactive, or just too much. And in this moment, she's trying so hard to stand in her strength and show that her sensitivity is something valuable. She's pushing back against the idea that feeling deeply is a flaw. But as we've seen, the more she tries to embrace her power, her strength, her self-worth, the more she ends up being misunderstood and torn down, which makes that effort even more painful to watch.
You're very, very wearing your heart on your sleeve. You're very passionate when you talk. But when you saying, babe, can I grab this for you? Babe, can I do this? Are you coming at it very, very strongly off the rip? And I just wanted to slow the pace down of that. But it's just a matter of meeting people at that middle ground of what they're comfortable with and what you're comfortable with.
Why Ace felt the need to go after Amaya in such a vulnerable moment is hard to understand. She was clearly already emotional, and yet he couldn't seem to let go of the fact that she had called him babe. It's as if in that moment he prioritized holding on to his own interpretation of the word rather than seeing the full picture of what Amaya was going through in that moment.
You know, sometimes I'm not the book that someone should be reading, and that's okay.
One thing I gotta add though, coming from a Hispanic household, calling someone babe, mi amor, mi vida, that's just how we talk. You're telling her, meet you halfway, you gotta meet her halfway too.
I did that.
I respect that. Thank you, guys, for sharing your thoughts.
And that's what often happens when we don't make room for cultural differences as well. We cling to meaning from our own lens and miss what someone else is truly trying to communicate. I wanted to stand up and cheer when Bryan stepped in to defend her. You can see how emotional it impacts me because that moment mattered. Bryan understood that Amaya wasn't using the word babe with romantic intent. He recognized the cultural nuance in her language and saw the bigger picture. It was one of the first times for Amaya where she wasn't left to explain or justify herself alone, and it reminded us of how powerful it is when someone steps in with empathy and understanding.
So I let you be passionate with me, I let you kiss me, I let you touch me. Sometimes I feel like I have to take a step back.
Zach, you had every opportunity to tell me that when we were sitting
have
on
that
the
conversation.
field, and
That's
you
what I was
did not. You
about to say,
waited till
but
this moment to speak to me in front of 20 other people here. I don't even want to continue on speaking to you anymore.
Well, all I'm saying over there was listen.
I don't care to hear what you have to say anymore. Stop talking to me.
Okay.
I just need a break right now.
Ace, just come back, bro.
When Zach said, I let you kiss me, I let you be passionate with me, it was jarring and deeply unsettling. His words weren't just intense, they were likely shaming and disempowered Amaya. This entire mailbox moment where these three men seemed to gang up on Amaya was a true WTF moment. She was clearly vulnerable, and rather than offering support or compassion, they each laid into her in a way that felt emotionally aggressive. Amaya was absolutely right to shut it down, and she did it with dignity. What happened wasn't just unfair, it was beyond hurtful. It showed how easily vulnerability, especially from someone with a sensitive temperament, can be turned against them. So why did they do it? One possible reason is that Amaya's emotional depth made them uncomfortable. People often struggle to hold space for strong emotion, especially when they haven't built the capacity within themselves. So instead of naming their discomfort or stepping back and reflecting on it, they used this mailbox moment to express their frustration, resentment, or confusion, not with care, but with force. And that's what is so painful in this moment, to watch what Amaya went through, who was trying to navigate her own emotional truth, ended up being the target of others' unresolved actions or experience with her. Sensitive temperament people often reflect back emotions that others aren't ready to face. And when that feels too uncomfortable or confronting, instead of leaning in with understanding, people may react by pulling away or lashing out. Well, that was a lot to unpack. And like I said, if you want to know more about sensitive temperament, I will link the website in the description. So there's a reason that I know so much about sensitive temperament. I have a sensitive temperament that I deeply value and have had to learn how to manage at the same time. For me, understanding my sensitive temperament a very, very long time ago was very empowering. Having that self-awareness allowed me to understand myself with not only compassion, but self-esteem. Because when you have a sensitive temperament growing up and people don't understand it, they can often beat you down for it. And again, not because they're being mean, but because they don't understand it. And sensitive temperament people do have strong emotional reactions that are hard for people to react to and understand. So I hope for Amaya, she learns to understand her sensitive temperament and she can grow and understand it as a strength and her superpower and manage it at the same time. Well, that is a wrap on this episode. So make sure to come back, because I'm going to be breaking down some of the other Islanders and their relationships that I haven't touched on yet. And trust me, there is so much I have left to unpack. You won't want to miss this. I will continue to post these videos every week, even after the final episode of Love Island, because there's just so much to unpack. So many of you have shared how these videos help you understand yourself and relationships on a deeper level. And that is exactly why I create them. And if they have brought you any clarity or direction, subscribing is the best way to stay connected and keep getting insights that support you. And if you found today's tips helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who has a sensitive temperament or might know of someone who has a sensitive temperament, because they hopefully will benefit from it. See you next time.